Sailing ships across the sky are called arcs. Just saying. What a glorious sight to behold that took place in the UK this week. Something that I've been calling for a long time. So what took place? Well, a number of people marched to the BBC headquarters and started calling them out as liars. They left freedom stickers all over their windows, and finally some of what I call actionable activism took place. You know, marching up and down Pennsylvania Avenue has not yielded a single result, no matter how good it looks. It has not produced what we wanted. And I stated many years ago about the 3 M's plus the hidden one. There is always a hidden one, 12 plus 1, 7 plus 1, and even 8 plus 1. The military, the Masons, and the media, with the hidden M being Marduk and his IBM group, or I was M. But maybe the program still runs. Time will tell. But with M gone, highlighting and targeting the remaining 3 will bring down their old structure and allow us to build a new. And it does not take any sort of violence or threatening behaviour. Just people power calling them out for crimes against humanity. Now, the military crimes in various countries are fairly obvious. The Masons, not so. But the media are the clown's mouthpiece. End them, and it's game over. We can then replace it with actual news. Replace other channels with real history. Our history, not his story. Replace other channels with positive people news. Replace other channels with project progress reports. Replace other channels with how all people can help. Replace other channels with adult thinking people discussing global initiatives of how to drive our species forward under the banner of need, not greed, caring and sharing, cooperative, not competitive or comparative. And it's up to the people of America. That is your actionable activism. Marching on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC and all the other clown-based networks ran for and by the CIA need to be stopped. Their bird has mocked us enough, and it's time to lay the mockingbird to rest by knocking it off its perch and replacing it with something better. So what is actionable activism? Well, it has many connotations, and it's only limited by your own lack of imagination. And often people go for sensational events, marching on the White House, filing papers against the Pope, the Queen, or Matt Hancock. But the hidden, more subtle events often bring more results. Speaking with nurses and doctors, campaigning against the drugstores giving out vaccines, engaging with the police to build trust. There are many leading US cops now not playing the system game. There is 40 plus in California alone. Target companies not working for our greater good. Boycott Amazon, who are building for the robot takeover of any jobs that are left. And yes, you heard that correctly. And no, robots are not the future, they're long in the past. Target mode RNA, and all their subsidiaries. Target the private company called the CDC. These groups are responsible for the COVID lies, injuries and deaths, not to mention your jobs, homes and businesses, and also your freedoms. Put all politicians on notice, follow We the People guidelines, or be removed from office. Pick out events from the news, and if any company or organisation is not doing for and by the people, ring and or email them. And if sufficient numbers protest outside of their offices or shops, it does have an effect. Peace activists make appeals outside of all military bases and request they honour their oath to We the People, to fight and defend for We the People, and to take actions against all enemies, foreign and domestic, not working for We the People. Target APAC and J Street officers. Tell them they're not welcome in this country after interfering in our election process. They're not welcome for being responsible for sending our sons and daughters into war at the request of the Israeli junta. Select and request demands for Freedom of Information Act on whatever topics that are of interest to We the People. Boycott American medical insurance companies for making the people of our country sick with their greed-based medical plans. Target Planned Parenthood for their genocide and profit-making use of babies, live or dead. Target research centres that operate in genocide-based research that ultimately will kill us all until they are stopped. Demand that they be shut down and or a public-based team to investigate all their research. And no, We the People are not interested in your classified bullshit or your National Security Act either. We pay for it, and we have the right to see what you are using our tax dollars for. Target Wall Street and their gang of greed-based criminals with their 4 to 7 second delay cheat system that ensures only the selected win. Target certain banks. Get all people to remove funds from a certain bank at one time unless they change their policies suitable for We the People. Black people can target Black Lives Matter, as that group is not representing you, only the system of control. Communities can work with the police to remove criminals and gangsters out of their neighbourhoods. Native American people can demand their chiefs to give some of the funds from oil wells and casinos back to the people to build better homes and communities. And these are just some of the ideas that the activism communal gathering can do. And all it takes is a few hundred dedicating some time each week and targeting whatever is not right for and by the people. Now, the benefit of this also is it is good advertising for the TPC and how other people outside of THI can come and join us in our quest to create a better world for us all. Whether you call it communal gatherings or assemblies, although certain ones are illegal, I might add, these are actionable events we can all do to be and make the change. Only when their system is finally extinguished and it is crumbling does the trust assets have any value. Future jobs, once the system is deleted, will largely be in investigational work, assessments of value, working out how to transition jobs from one sector to another, and also waste management. as much of the old world and buildings needs to go, and a new infrastructure, towns, villages and cities need to be built or radically revamped that are not called smart cities. Now, we have spoken many times of how corrupt the BBC news site is, not only in the UK, but they are globally recognised as they operate in many countries, although China recently banned them. Now, the BBC is largely ran by MI5. Yes, you. And is heavily Jewish linked, or should I say Hebrew linked, and owned, I might add, as we have mentioned previously. But a member sent this to me last week, which may be more confirming of two things: the Jewish links and the secret society links. Now, the Hebrew Anunnaki and their various named control groups often use a system of code, which we at THI have unearthed in big volumes. And we've also unearthed the topic of mirroring, which is a form of magic as well. Throw in the fact that the Hebrew Anunnaki code is gematria, and you see a bigger picture yourselves. But have you ever wondered, if you type gematria all in lowercase, as to why they insist the first letter must be capitalized? That letter is G. Is that G a part of the Masonic coding also? Now, using the gematria code, the BBC is 223. And when mirrored, it becomes 322. So what is the importance of 322? Well, apart from it being a sacrifice day, March 22nd, isn't it the code for the skull and bones, not 322? Oops. Are they one and the same? Just like the Hellfire Club and the Bohemian Grove. And in essence, as far as I can tell, the Skull and Bones is now the equivalent of the Fabian Society in the UK, as so many of your pre-selected leaders have come from those two organisations. Bush, both versions, Blair, Kerry, Corbyn, to name but a few. Still with the BBC, the clown reporter called John Sopel wrote this last week, where he said, for the White House press corps who have binged out for 4 years on the Sun et Lumiere of the Trump show, the last 3 months have been a challenge. He said, as I have remarked, perhaps unwisely, to an audience the other night, the transition from Trump to the fossil Joe Biden has been like going from a daily crack pipe to a small bottle of low-alcohol beer once a week. The daily White House briefings are now a snooze fest. There are no fights and no name-calling, no middle-of-the-night Twitter storms, no payments to porn stars, no rollicking MAGA rallies. So does this all mean it's been a boring presidency, he wrote. Absolutely not, he said. This is far more interesting presidency so far than I think any of us had imagined. I would go as far to say it's fascinating. If you like latex masks, yeah. The sad thing from a purely selfish point of view, he said, is that what it isn't is a made-for-TV spectacular, which is what I have feasted upon the past 4 years. Donald Trump always had an eye for the visual and the outrageous. He knew how to make himself the centre of attention, and Biden seems to relish the lack of histrionics and seems to think it is important for people to focus on what he delivers, which is rubbish, rather than what he says, and it's most strange. I'll tell you what is most strange: the BBC's over-fascination with American CEOs, not presidents, and yet they barely cover the rank stupidity, incompetence, or bullshit that comes out of their own government. Now, why is that? Because they have one of their own installed, is why. BBC, like MI5 and GCHQ, as well as Hillary, are all part of the Blue Dragon Group. Oops. Who says we don't have intel? But then they also have in the UK now an elite jackass whose father, Stanley Johnson, claims he predicted COVID-19 pandemic in a novel published 40 years ago. It's the prophecy people again. They're not prophecies, they're plans. And he seems to think life is better being French than British these days, Stanley Johnson. Perhaps he can take his son with him, because he is a jackass. Now, I received some interesting intel. Did I say intel? I thought we didn't have any. Oh, yes, it's intel. This week, that I'm unable to confirm just yet, but perhaps time will reveal it. And what I received was $3 trillion of money laundering, whitewashed. This week was used to buy all companies, all forest, wood, plus steel, and also copper. $3 trillion to buy it all up. And I was asked two questions. One, is this to halt all production and building on the planet? And two, did this money come from the trustee? Now, to answer question one, yes, that is possible. And they have been buying up all businesses they deem essential for a future event, whereby they will allow the trustee the use of the funds for the people, knowing with all the companies under their control, they will get all the funds released, will return back to them eventually. And in my opinion, they have strung the trustee along all for the past 3 or 4 years to buy time. And personally, the funds should not come out in full until the people have something in place to balance it. Now, privately, I understand the funds are blocked until the time is right, and that won't be any time soon. We will not allow the few who are desperate for funds now to hinder long-term plans of the future. When the people have a similar platform in place to release and protect their funds, only then will or should the funds be released. And that may disappoint some people, but this is about overview, not individual needs or wants or desires. The clowns need money far more than we do. Most people on this planet has got by with little to no money. Most people. That's the difference. When, as an example, all the control system involves all the governments, all the agencies, and all the other think tank goons. If you just take into account, all of them have to be bought off, including the scientists and the medical people now. If you just take into account the American government costs $14.5 billion per day, then you realise the enormous cost that they require. $14.5 billion a day is just over $100 billion a week. That's just for one country. And the point is, they must not be let back into the game, because some are desperate for the now and some want to walk away and retire. It's not happening. It's just not. Now, whether the money came from Kim direct, I can't answer that with any surety these days, but I suspect it came out of the funding Kim sent in March last year, which was in the Intel section of our show, and the $454 billion that funded the takeover of the Fed, that then was leveraged to $4.54 trillion by the Fed and the US Treasury. That strangely was not stopped like all other times previously. Maybe the Omega system doesn't work as well as the quantum system. New ATMs in Virginia, home of Langley, to scan your vaccination passports or implants before you get your cash. Oh my. I wonder what the implants were. And I guess Clowns in Panic was right again. And no amount of digital fresh air tokens, digital wallets, or universal basic income will give you the peace or freedoms you desire anymore. These machines will replace the banks. We warned banks were going, and this is the start of it. Digital ID banking with digital vaccination passports, getting digital money out via digital wallets. And the great question is, how long before the people become digital and not organic?